morning, my name is Charlotte Ayala, and today we'll be discussing the First Amendment in U.S. public schools. My research question is, how are the limitations of students' rights an illustration of the First Amendment in U.S. public schools? So according to the First Amendment, it states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or adopting the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. For time, place, and manner restrictions, these are limitations that allow us to follow the First Amendment rights in establishments like schools and other public places. So as you can see on my left right here, this sign you've probably seen in front of any restaurant or anything that says no shirt, no shoes, no service. This basically states that any general group of people, like any customer, has to follow these procedures and enter the restaurant. If not, the restaurants have the right to not allow you to enter. This also goes against teachers and students in schools because they have the right to express their political and religious beliefs, but they may not enforce it on each other. For example, like teachers, they can't speak politically or religious against students because they cannot influence students' opinions. My first court case is Tinker versus Moines. This is a court case with junior high students that felt they wanted to wear the black wristbands, as you can see to my left right here, in order to represent peace with the Vietnam War. The school felt that this was disruption in classes, and they threatened to suspend students who warmed arguments. The court ruled in favor of students and felt this was no disruption in classes and was a freedom of expression. The next court case is Lee versus Wiseman. This is a court case regarding a school prayer done at a graduation by Mr. Wiseman. He gave a religious prayer to students, and it was a positive farewell and good luck to students beyond high school and in the long run in life. He felt this was just a sign of good luck and meant no harm on the students. However, the court ruled with the school and felt that it was unconstitutional. The next court case is Hazelwood School District versus Kohlmeyer, and the school restricted what students would publish in their school newspaper due to its content being relevant or not. They felt that school newspapers shouldn't include any outside information that wasn't educational, while the students felt that, like Kohlmeyer, felt that he could publish like something like student pregnancies or something like that to represent like real-world situations to benefit students' environment and their educational services. And the court ruled with students and felt their publications were not appropriate. For my conclusion, I feel that students' rights are limited as a result to the First Amendment, and their limitations are for a good learning environment but have become very strict and therefore potential violations of the First Amendment. What questions do you have?
All right, two questions I have for you. First up, what information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
Well, first I needed all the information based off of my court cases so I can have a further understanding of how they limit students' rights, and I also needed information off the First Amendment because I didn't have a clear understanding of it.
Okay, next question. If you had more time, what additional research would you conduct with this issue?
I would possibly include more court cases, like explaining the con side of the argument, because I was more for how it was limitations with the students, but I could have included how it was more towards the school sides of how, time, place, and manner, how they have to have limitations on students in order to have a good learning environment.
All right, you're done.